So, today we have just a breakdown of things that we've learned and how we acquired our first properties in real estate that will help you acquire your first properties in real estate. So, Miller's going to take it away and tell you what his first property was like because he actually bought his before me at a younger age with less knowledge. So, go ahead.
Yeah, you're always around it, right? Everybody's buying this property, that property, and I feel like the biggest thing that holds people back, as we've talked about it before, is the muddy waters, right? It could be only a foot deep, and I started learning the basics, right? What cash on cash return, how to run numbers, and then how to look at properties. And I decided I know the basics, I might as well just jump into one, right? Because the best way to learn how to swim is to jump into the deep end. So looked at a couple properties, found one that made sense, and pulled the trigger.
So what did you learn going through the process of buying the property? One thing comes to mind for me specifically. It was loan origination fees. So obviously there's a couple hidden secrets to the game or whatever, like that people just don't understand getting into real estate. So what's a couple things that you feel like you stumbled on a little bit getting into the first property?
Yeah, and coming from sales, I should have known this, but everyone's going to try and sell you at what they think they can sell you at. You can always negotiate, you can always get down people's prices, and especially even people who you think are on your side, they're still working to sell you something. And so they're still kind of put in their little fees or something that you can always take off. So just have people around you that know more than you, and you can always ask questions.
Because one like big learning point that I think we both learned was, and I didn't even actually really understand this that fundamentally either, but loan originators can charge you a certain percentage that they, it's literally just a fee for a loan origination fee, which, I mean, obviously they'll have some sort of cost associated with doing business, but if they charge you, I think your property was what, $120,000 when you bought it?
127, 137.
It was 3.5% or almost 4% loan origination fee. It's that is just absolutely ridiculous for him to have to pay $4,000 on a loan to get the loan created and then have to pay 7% interest and then have to pay title and closing, escrow fees, just does not make any sense. So I remember I only knew this because I had sold real estate a little bit as a realtor, and I had sold a house that was $120,000, and the closing costs or the loan origination fee was only $1,500. So I knew that was wrong. I actually reached out to one of my connections that I know does loans, and I was like, this loan origination fee seems way high, and she ended up renegotiating with your person. You ended up renegotiating.
Yeah, she basically said that she could do it for $1,000, and so I took that to my loan officer and said, hey, someone else can do it for $1,000, and then she dropped it to $1,500 or whatever.
Literally saved $2,500, close to $3,000 on an out-of-pocket fee that wouldn't have went into buying the house at all. It's literally just a fugazi fee that a first-time home buyer is just not going to know. So your closing costs typically should be 1.5 to 2.5% given if you have a crazy inspection or you have to do a re-inspection. All that stuff kind of goes into it. But your loan origination fee should be part of your closing costs. And they shouldn't be over 3% total in most scenarios. And that is including the appraisal, the inspections, your title work fees, and your loan origination fee. But I mean, as far as your first deal goes, it was literally a home run. How did you know what to look for essentially, whenever you're going through your first property?
Just people around me. You find a good group that has done the research and know what they're talking about, and you just go look for it. I think I learned way more, 100 times more in the 20% of buying the property than I did in the 80% of looking into properties and trying to figure everything out. You literally just, as you go through the process, you learn everything. And so if you can have people to guide you, to help you, but still you just have to jump into the deep end or you'll never make it happen.
99% of real estate investors quit before they even get started, and that is a fact. I'll kind of jump in, or before I jump into my first property, I want to ask you, is there anything that has messed up since, or any things that you have learned since? I think one really good thing that I'll point out about Miller's property he had a long-term tenant in one of the units. It was a duplex. One of the units, they were paying way under market rent value, but they've been there for like 8 years at the time, right? Or 10?
They were there for a decade before I bought it.
They had been there for 10 years renting from that same unit. And so obviously their rent was like literally like
$500.
50% of what it should be in the market today. And Miller didn't want to lose that tenant because obviously if they've been there for 10 years, that's going to be a really good long-term tenant. You're going to have very low turnover. But he also didn't want to like raise it too fast and lose the tenant, essentially, is what I'm trying to say. So I think you found like a good middle ground for market rent, like not necessarily what you could get for it, but, you know, still giving a discount because she was a long-term tenant, and it's been very good since, I'm assuming.
She pays her rent a day before it's due, before it even needs to be spoken into existence.
Yeah, so sometimes it's best to just keep, like, it's the best business play to, instead of try to get the most money you possibly can out of a unit, to just keep a really good tenant in there that you know is going to take care of the property. Because in my case scenario, I actually have had the first tenant that I ever had in my duplex that I bought ended up leaving me with German roaches, like thousands of roaches, tons of trash everywhere. They broke the ceiling fan off of the roof, like pretty terrible tenant. Had to evict them, almost took them. I think that we did take them to court, but I had a property manager that did all that, so I didn't have to myself. But and I was getting market rent from that tenant, you know. So and now my grandpa lives in it, and I rent it to him for way cheaper. But it's my grandpa; he's gonna take really good care of the property and hold it down over there.
It's not a headache.
Exactly. So sometimes you kind of have to make the trade-off with real estate as long as the numbers still make sense. But a couple things that I learned during the process, like buying my first investment property. One, if you can be prepared enough, like preparation, when preparation meets opportunity, it equals success. Like, I walked through that property a day after it got listed. Before I even got done walking through the property, I looked at my mom and I was like, I'm buying this. Like, it makes sense on paper. I already know. Like, for $189,000, it can rent for $200 or $2,400 to $2,500 at a 7% like interest rate. I already know the numbers in my head because I've ran them so much. Like, I'm like, this is a buy. Like, I'm gonna go to the office and write up a contract like right now. We're gonna get this done. And so one thing that I do feel like on the opposite side of Miller is, like, if you don't have the funds yet, if you don't have the opportunity yet, make sure your preparation can meet the opportunity. Like, if you're still in that learning stage, like, take it for what it is and learn everything that you can. That way, whenever the deal does come across your plate, you can actually capitalize on it. Second thing, you're never going to know everything about the property. Like, it's honestly crazy. Make sure you always get inspections. If you have a realtor, they're going to tell you the same thing, but I'm telling you right now, dude, inspections will save lives. And going back to Miller's point, everything's negotiable. If you get inspections and things come back bad, like, you can literally, like, I'm not doing this deal unless you change this about this, because it came back in the inspections. It's called an objection period. So putting in a contract, writing an offer on a house doesn't necessarily completely tie you down to you have to buy this house no matter what. That's what a lot of new people think, so they never actually get into it and see the process that it goes through. But if something comes up in objections, I think I ended up getting like a $4,000 credit on the roof because it wasn't necessarily like as good as it could have been. And I think I got a couple little things like minor fixes with plumbing and stuff fixed up before I told the seller that I was good to like go forward with it. One thing I completely overlooked, which is just the easiest thing to check that you should probably check every property before you buy, is how old the water heaters are. I literally just blanked it, and it was like a 15-year-old water heater, and typically they have a lifetime of 7 to 10 years. It's still kicking. I don't know what they put in that thing to make it run the way it is right now, but just like the little things, like a random tip, rule of thumb that I got from somebody that I know that has a ton of real estate: if you can run the shower, the sink, and flush the toilet, and it all drains perfectly fine at the same time, the plumbing is typically in decent condition. Obviously still get an inspection done, but just those little things. Always make sure to check like electrical boxes. You're not really going to know what you're looking at. That's why you need an inspector. But with your own eyes, make sure you go through the property, see what, everything is like, because I'm telling you, you can just miss the littlest things, and a water heater might cost me $1,000 or $2,000, which like now doesn't bother me, but whenever I just bought the property, I didn't just have a ton of money sitting around. Like, it was my first property. So, and another thing too, I would say I really like the idea of just immediately going with a property manager, but you need to know the property managers well and vet them well. Like, I personally have been with 2 property managers, and it's not that one or the other is just like 10 times better or 10 times worse. It's just that one caters to a little bit more of what I want out of a property manager, and one doesn't. So it's like, if you can know what you're looking for and vet them correctly, like, you can have a really good relationship with your property manager, have really good results, and your properties will be in good hands without you actually having to make your investment work. Like, if you don't have a property manager, your investment is just another job. It's like you're buying another job. But if you do have somebody that can, set the system in place, that way it can be passive, I personally would go for that, like, immediately right out of the gate, unless it's the easiest property in the world to manage. And then I would still make sure you do your due diligence with writing contracts, because at the end of the day, everything is legal. Once you get into business, everything is a contract. Everything is legally binding. Like, just know what you're getting into and be cautious. Probably would house your properties in an LLC after you get your first 5 to 10, maybe even your first 1, but that's probably for another video later on down the road. Is there anything else that you think from our first properties that we've just like learned the hard way?
Not really. I'd say that you'll never know everything.
Yeah.
So if I can give anybody a piece of advice, it's just to jump in. It's to learn. It's to ask questions along the way to people who know, but you got to just learn. You got to just jump in and learn. But
a couple quick tips that I would say, another couple like rules of thumb essentially: vet your tenants well. If they don't have a 650 credit score, if they don't make 3 times as much as the rent is per month, they typically shouldn't be renting that house. It's not the smartest financial decision. And make sure you can like get in contact with like somebody that they previously rented from, previous like bosses at jobs. Like, just know the person a little bit, because it's your right to know the person a little bit that's going to be living in your house that could possibly burn it down, right? Like, at the end of the day, worst case scenario. So vet your tenants well. I think credit score, proof of income, and then like job history or rental history is like a pretty good 3 or 4 things. Background check always as well. So that's something that that I made a mistake on, but it didn't bite me in the ass. So I think we're good there, but that's something that you could definitely avoid making a mistake on in the future. But other than that, monthly checkups on your properties, always switch the air filters, just little things like that, just easy rules of thumb. But yeah, we'll see you in the next video. Drop a comment, let us know what you want to see. Like, subscribe, follow along if you care about it, and we'll just continue to keep trying to provide value and get better for you guys. We'll see you.